What's going on, everybody? It's your friendly neighborhood web developer back at it again here today. And today we're going to take a look at how to animate on scroll. Okay, so in order to make these animations work, we're going to need to hook into a JavaScript library called Animate-on-Scroll. I've forked that into my GitHub for you, and I'll put the link in the description so that you can get at that easily. But basically, what we need to do to install it is simply reference this CDN into the head of our document, and then before the closing body, we'll need to add in these two script tags. This one initializes the animation, so we really got to make sure we have that one. And then if you look through the documentation here, basically we're going to be setting the animations using a data attribute. It's data AOS for animate on scroll. And then with that, we can set the different animations. There's a full list of them over on this page. If you want to go ahead and take a look at that, you can at some other time. The only other things that I wanted to point out that we can use a lot of different properties like easing. You'll see kind of some examples in through here. So there's a lot more to this JavaScript library than what I'm going to cover today, but this will give you a basic introduction to installing it and how to get some basic usage out of it so that you can animate items on your pages. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll just close this for now. Let's open up our command prompt and we're going to make a directory. We'll call it AOS demo, at least I will. Then we're going to go ahead and cd into it and open up our code editor. Okay, there's that. We should be opening up right into the directory that we just created. You can see here it says AOS demo. Perfect. So the first file we're going to need is an index.html. And once we have that set, we can type in an exclamation point, hit tab, and we automatically get some boilerplate. We'll then link our CSS right away. Just type in link and hit tab. And then I'm going to put it in a folder and call it main.css. All right, that's a good start. Make my CSS folder. And then I'm actually going to create a Sass file just because I prefer to work with Sass. It just makes development a lot more efficient and easy. I'm going to go back to my HTML and I'm going to create a couple of containers. I'll probably do about 4 of them here. And let's see, this one will give a class of hero. That's going to be our main image there. And then these 3, let's go ahead and give them an ID. ID equals container hyphen. Turn off these extra cursors. We got 1, we got 2, got 3. And they're actually all going to have a class as well of container. We could use BEM methodology here, but for this demonstration, it really doesn't make a difference. Let's see, get that going. And then inside my hero, I want to have an h1 tag. And my h1 tag is going to say animate on scroll. Okay. And then in these other containers, let's see, I'm going to want a few more cursors, so I only have to do this once. And we're going to go with an h2. And here's some stuff. This one will say here's some more stuff, and this one's just going to say even more stuff. Alright, that's pretty much it for the HTML that we need to build. Now we just need to grab those references that I talked about earlier. Scroll up to the top here. Okay, here's the first link that we're going to put in. We'll just Control-C to copy that. And then we're going to go underneath our CSS file, Control-V to paste. Next up, we have these script tags. Again, highlight, Control-C to copy. Oop, wrong button. There we go. And then right before our closing body tag is where we're going to put that. All right, and that will pretty much do it for our HTML. We're going to need some colors here. So I've already generated a palette with Coolors.co. I'm just going to click export and export to Sass. It'll automatically download my file. Eventually, There we go. And then if I click on that, it should open up right in to my Visual Studio Code, which it does. Just going to copy these. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and make a Sass map called Colors, because this is my color palette. And then I'm going to dump those into there. And get rid of all those $signs. And we're also going to get rid of these semicolons and put in some commas, because this works sort of like an array. Just need to have a semicolon at the end of that. And then we're going to create a couple of mix-ins as well. This is one of the really nice things about Sass, is that you can create these mix-ins to do chunks of code that you typically repeat. And then you just have to put in one line of code instead of multiple. You'll see how handy that is here in a second. I'm just going to put that. And one more mix-in for fonts. This is what I like to do with a lot of my headings. Today we're going to mix it up a little bit and go with Roboto Condensed for our font there. We're going to put a font weight of 700 if I can continue typing here. I'm going to put a little bit of letter spacing on that. I've just found that I like the way that looks with Roboto Condensed. And we'll add a text shadow just for fun. And then we're going to use that color map here to get what we're looking for. I'll go map get the name of the Sass map that we just created. And in this case, the color that I'm looking for is color 3. Alright, that's pretty good. Now let's get some of the boilerplate stuff out of the way. Really, just on the body, the typical thing. Want a margin of 0 so we don't have any goofiness going on with that. I'm going to set a backup background color on that just in case something doesn't work out. And again, I'm going to use my Sass map to grab that. Colors, and it's going to be, there we go, color 2. Oh my goodness, there we go. Come on, fingers, we can do this. Alright, and then I've noticed with the Animate-on-Scroll library, if you don't have this X-axis overflow hidden, sometimes your page will bump out and you'll have a horizontal scroll where you won't necessarily want it. So I like to just make sure that that overflow X is hidden while I'm doing this. Next, another nifty thing about Sass is we can nest values. So I'm going to go like this inside of the body, and I'm going to call that fonts mix-in. And then I'm going to start working on the structure itself. So the hero and the container, I want a height value, and I want to include the flex mix-in. And then on the containers and heroes, let's see, the H2 elements, I want to get a color on those. I'm going to go map get the colors. Oop, come on, there we go. And then let's see, this one I'm going to go with color 1. And then I'm also going to want a font size on those. That's going to be 36 pixels. All right, that should pretty much do it for that. On the hero alone, I'm going to add a couple of values as well. We're going to justify the content to the center for that. We're going to do a height of 800 pixels for the hero. And then, let's see, we're also going to have an H1 in the hero, not an H2. So we'll put a font size of 48 pixels. All right, and then lastly, to make sure that we have content going from left to right and back again, we're going to use those container IDs. Again, these are all nested inside the body, so I can just simply stay inside that body tag. These body tags here, if you see this nice pretty line, just stay inside that bracket and set up container 1, which is going to have justify content to flex start so that it's on the left. It's going to have a left padding then of 75 pixels so it doesn't go right up against the edge. And then the background color for that one, just for fun. Again, none of this is going to look great, but it's going to show you some of the basic concepts and how to get it to work. Let's go with color 5 for that one. Next we have container 2. And for that one, we want the content to go to the right, so we're going to go with justify content, and we're going to hit it with flex end. And the reason why this flex start and this flex end is going to work is because we have this include flex mixin set on the container. So all of these containers with IDs have the class of container, which is why I only have to write this one line of code and everything works. But enough about that. Let's set a padding right on this one so it doesn't butt up against the right edge of 75 pixels. And then we're going to get a background color on this one as well. Map get, again, colors. And this one's going to be color 4. And then last but certainly not least, we have container number 3. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I did. Okay. Container 3 is going to have center justified content. And a background color as well. We're just going to use, let's see, which one is that? I'm going to go with color 3. Okay, and that pretty much does it for the CSS file. Let's just go back in here to our index. So right now, we'll spin up a live server, and you can see kind of what we're working with. We won't have any animations yet because we need to add in those data AOS attributes. So we've got a lot of, oh, I goofed up here, folks. Let's go back and fix that. So I have my reference to my main.css. However, common mistake, I forgot to watch my Sass file. So nothing compiled. All right, so I'll just go ahead and click this, and then it'll start compiling the files. We can see, hang on. Oh, I already have an error. Let's take a look. Oh, we got a space there where we can't have one. And, oh, forgot to put map get. You guys should have warned me. Okay, now let's save. And we still have an error. All right. We also have this here needs to move up. And get rid of that. And now we should be looking much better. There we go. You can see we've got success. So now it's actually compiled a regular CSS file, which is main CSS, and you can take a look and see what it does. It automatically takes all of the variables and mixins that we wrote and compiles them into regular CSS. And now, if we go back to our page, we can see we've got a mess. So let's go ahead and take a look back here in our Sass file. Oh, I can see we've got an underline. That's usually where the problem is. It's because these values aren't inside of that. So let's save that out and see what we get. Much better. There's one more thing I want to do to this stuff, and that is I want to go ahead and get a text transform on there of uppercase. And we're close, but I can see one more thing I screwed up. I have robot condensed instead of roboto, so that's not going to work very well. That's better. Okay, now we can go ahead and start adding some animations into the mix here. We're just going to go back into our code, and let's go to our index file, and we'll add a few cursors in. We're just going to put it on the H2s here. So I'll hold down Alt so I can add multiple cursors. Data AOS equals, let's see, the first one, we're going to go with a slide right so that it slides in. The second one, we're going to go slide left because it's on the right side. And then the last one, we're just going to have fade up so that it fades up as we get towards the bottom of the page. And then, just my own personal preference, I'm going to add multiple cursors back in here again. I'm just going to add some easing with data AOS easing, and it's going to equal ease. So now, if we go ahead and we save that, We're going to go back to our browser and let's take a look. There we go. We have stuff animating in as we scroll. Now you can do this with text, you can do it with images, you can do it with shapes if you draw them with CSS. The possibilities are really limitless, and there's a lot of different parameters that you can play around with if you look through the documentation here. And that's going to do it for today's tutorial, folks. I hope you learned something. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tutorials to come at a later date. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.